Welcome back to another episode of Lit and Bruised, an Atlanta literary podcast. I'm John Carroll.
And I'm Matt DeBenedictis.
Matt, this is our last episode of season 1. How do you feel?
I feel good. It feels nice to be in a studio. I mean, how do you feel not being in your living room?
You know, I kind of miss it a little bit.
Yeah?
Not really, no. Yeah, like Matt said, we are not in my living room anymore. We are at Wonder Root, where we are. This is our first episode here in Wonder Root. It's the first episode at Wonder Root, but the last one of the season. We wanted to work to this goal so we could say that we started out this podcast not knowing anything, but by the end of the first season, we kind of knew what we were doing. Not too much. I mean, we're not pros here yet, but I think we got a good handle on this thing.
Oh, yeah. And to anyone who was listening to the early episodes, I commend you as being audio warriors. Literally, the first episode, we figured out just enough to get recording 10 minutes before Alex Greger showed up.
I like the spirit of those episodes. I mean, they're very punk rock, but then I could never go back and listen to them. I struggled. I commend you for being able to edit those episodes. I feel like the last 3 or 4 has been really been better, at least good enough for me to not cringe when I hear my echoey voice.
No one really likes to hear their own voice except for Bono. He's the only person that loves to hear his own voice.
He loves it.
Just drives around listening to U2 B-sides in his car. As long as you don't turn out to be that person, everything's all right.
But he's just has like unreleased material he just listens to all the time.
Yeah, that's what Chuck Klosterman used to say.
Really?
Yeah.
About Bono?
Yeah, he in one of his books, I think it was Cocoa Puffs, he talked about
that's amazing.
Driving around with him in his Porsche, and that's all Bono listened to was himself.
I think I've said it before on this podcast, but I feel like Chuck Klosterman has a bad rap because he put that book out, Sex, Drugs, and Cocoa Puffs. A lot of people were like, he's lame, that's cheesy, whatever. But that book was really entertaining. He has a whole chapter about God and his favorite basketball team in the 80s.
He makes me almost want to appreciate Kiss, but I never will.
Yeah, he definitely...
Except for the bass line of Detroit Rock City. Everything else, fuck him.
You know that... Kiss's number one song is a disco song.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I Was Made for Loving You. That's like their number one song. At least in terms of sales. It's pretty insane.
Well, aside from Kiss, I'm actually very happy to be at Wonder Root because Wonder Root was the first place that I ever saw a lit reading in Atlanta that wasn't an open mic.
That's funny because I did an open mic here. It's the only open mic I've ever done was here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They've really mixed it up. We should...
Yeah.
Are they still doing readings here?
I actually have no idea. I mean, the one that I saw many, many years ago, Blake Butler, he put it on. It was all the artists at the time on the current roster of Featherproof Books, which he was on at that time. And I remember meeting Amy McDaniel in the basement because that's where the reading was. There were some Lyonnaise played. So a couple other different Atlanta bands played. And I remember meeting Amy McDaniel. She had just moved back here from New York. Amy McDaniel runs 421 Publishing now, as well as is the co-founder of Real Pants.
Yeah, and she's married to Adam Robinson, who was a guest a few episodes back.
Yeah, so things all tie in. But yeah, it's I really feel good being at Wonder Root because it's this is kind of where my journey began.
Yeah, it is interesting. You know, I came here... I was invited here years ago. It's probably 2012, maybe even 2011, by Melissa Martinez. She used to run Kill Your Darlings here in Atlanta back then. That was at least 5 years ago since she's been in Atlanta. But yeah, I came here with her and a bunch of other writers, and it was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah. So what was your favorite episode this past season? Well, this inaugural season.
Yeah, you need to keep me in line because an episode without a guest is I'm just going to go all over the place, man. I was getting ready to talk about Kiss for 20 minutes.
I know. That's why I had to change it up.
You saw the look in my eye. I mean, I'm not really a big Kiss fan, but my favorite episode, I really like them all for different reasons, obviously. I really enjoyed all of our guests. I mean, I don't think, to do 14 episodes with, or I guess 13 episodes with guests, but then having multiple guests on some of those episodes. I mean, it's a lot of people. I mean, we've had almost about 20 people on the podcast this season. And I liked all of them. They were all wonderful people. So, you always kind of worried that you might get like a jerk on there, somebody who doesn't want to talk or something, or they just start some shit.
I think by asking the questions that you do, anyone who wants to be reserved cannot.
Yeah. I mean, I try to get to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I don't get too crazy about it. At least I try not to. But granted, I'm more of an open person, I think. I'll just kind of, I mean, I'm guarded in my own ways, but I mean, I'll just ask crazy shit. I mean, why not? You know? It's like, how old were you when you lost your virginity, You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
17.
How old was I? I was 20.
20? Oh, wow. I thought I was late.
God hated, or you must have thought God hated you, right?
Yeah.
All the guilt from that?
Yeah, I broke into a house.
What?
Yeah, me and the girl I was seeing at the time, like, we didn't have anywhere else to go, so we broke into a house and fucked.
That is insane. I lost my virginity in Athens. That's not insane. But what was crazy about it, though, was driving home from Athens the next day, and they used to have all these billboards on 316 that said stuff like, "We need to talk, God." And then it was like, or you think it's hot down there. And I had just lost my virginity right before I went to go do mission work for 6 months. And I was already feeling super guilty. And then I saw these signs and I was like, man, I'm going to hell. But I'm not going to hell. And here we are now. And, I think this is actually a great segue to talk about Dashboard Light, which why don't you give us an intro?
Yeah, one of the things we've really enjoyed this season has been starting to set up the archive. Atlanta's lit community, we've had so many great writers and so many different reading series, and a lot of them haven't been documented in any place. So we're going to be the change that we want to see. And we've been trying to reach out to different readings that are no longer around, because some of them actually did recordings. And we actually did speak with Corey, and I'm probably going to butcher the name, Brian. So he read The Iceberg was the name of his reading series. And this was around 2013, 2014, where there was a lot of reading series going on at the time. Right Club was at a huge-ass explosion, as well as Scene Missing had just come on. And so there was a lot
Vouched books, too.
Yeah, there was so much going on. And the thing is, The Iceberg actually fell through the cracks because there was kind of similarities with some of the stuff that was going on with them in Right Club. Some just basically people telling stories for 10 minutes on a stage. We want to be able to highlight those, and Corey has gifted us a whole bunch of recordings. We're going to get those going on the archive, as well as earlier. Jason's episode, he talked about we're going to bring in some scene, possibly have a Scene Missing entire episode at some point.
Oh, that'd be fun. We should definitely do that.
So, we're just so happy that while the show won't be on for a little bit until we come back in January, the archive is going to be going, and we're going to keep on having all of these past readings come up. So, yeah, we invite everyone to come enjoy this trip down memory lane and see. I mean, I never saw a reading at the Iceberg, so
yeah, I didn't even know about it until. But aren't we playing? We have a reading from our archive that we're going to be playing on the show today, though, right?
Yes, actually, yeah.
From Dashboard Light.
Yes.
Sorry, I brought that up earlier because we were talking about sex stories, and that's why I brought up the story piece. I didn't know what was the person's name. It was Chris.
Yeah, Cris Gray from Dad's Garage.
Cris Gray.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, if you weren't familiar with Dashboard Light, that was a series that Mike Johns from Right Club ran for a little while, and it was people talking about losing their virginity and the music that accompanied.
Yeah.
And Matt and I was just thinking, because we were talking about losing our virginity, do you want to go ahead and fire up that piece?
Yeah. Was there music playing when you lost your virginity?
Oh, no, but I always kind of equate it to Johnny Cash, though, in my brain.
What don't you equate to Johnny Cash?
Not much, but I fooled around with this girl to a Johnny Cash, like Johnny Cash playing in the background. Didn't lose my virginity to her at that point in time, but that's what I equate to. But I don't equate Johnny Cash to everything in my life or most sexual experiences.
Yeah, that probably would be kind of awkward. But I just equate Black Sabbath's number 4 album, because that is a great album.
Is that what
have sex to?
Is that what you guys were playing after you broke in the house? Like they have?
It was probably playing in my head.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, anyway, it's Cris Gray. What's the name of the piece?
I do not know the name of the piece, and the recording cuts in before, and I forgot to ask Cris Gray about it because it's always kind of awkward to be like, hey, that piece you did from 2 years ago, you remember the name of it? The one that you just did on a whim as a storytelling? But yeah, this is Cris Gray from Dashboard Light talking not so much about losing his virginity, but about revisiting the person he almost lost his virginity to. It's a kind of a long one, but some of the best stories are.
Oh, man. Who remembers the movie Say Anything? Did any of you guys see that? Holding the boom box over his head. That's because Lloyd Dobler just wanted a second chance. He had fucked things up with his girl, and he was trying to get her to take him back or just talk to him by holding up the boom box and playing the song that they made out to in the back of his car. We don't always get second chances, but every now and then, like Halley's Comet in the sky, once every, 79 years, an opportunity comes along where you can get a second chance. The first time I almost lost my virginity. Let me back up. I was 19. I was in college. I'd never had sex before. I didn't know. My whole worldview was shit I'd seen on TV or movies or on the radio. I was basically like a 12-year-old in the body of a 19-year-old. Right? Like, I believed that shit. Like, I'm like, oh, no, love, that's all you need. It's just love, right? The guy always gets the girl in the end. So, 19, I'm in college. I'm in love with this girl named Colleen, right? She's not giving me the time of day. She's got this roommate, Jennifer. And Jennifer and I had this weird relationship where, like, we had the same mutual friends, but every time we were together, we'd argue and fight, and, like, we would just get on each other's nerves. And then when it got real awkward and everybody left because we were making a scene, it'd just be the two of us, and then we'd go eat pizza together. And I did not know. No, we literally went and ate pizza together. Like, it was weird because I was like 19. She was like 22. She was older than me. So, like, we'd argue, and I'd be like, man, she gets on my damn nerves. And then she'll be like, you want to come watch a movie? And I'll be like, yeah. And I would literally go to her apartment and sit there and watch the movie, like, not understanding, like, you know, like nowadays people say Netflix and chill. I would actually go over and watch Netflix and, like, oh, no, I thought you just wanted to chill out. Where's the popcorn? Like, what are we going to watch Luke Cage? What are we doing? Like, not understanding, you know, subtext and what the fuck is going on. Because I didn't see that in the movies. I never saw the girl be all sly and shit in the movies where she's like, yeah, you want to come over and watch, you know, movies? And, you know, next thing you know, they naked. I thought, no, she said she wants to watch movies. That's what we're doing. So this went on for for a school year. Next fall semester comes along, and I live in Orlando. She lives in Tampa. And for some reason, she told me over the Christmas break she was going to be home by herself for Christmas. Like, she was like, oh, my parents are going to be there. They're going on a trip. And I was like, what? Who does that? Hey, it's Christmas. You stay here. We're going somewhere. I was like, that's... And I felt bad. I was like, damn, that's fucked up. You know, I was like, you know what? I'll come, you know, I live in Orlando, 2-hour drive away. I'll come see you during Christmas break. That's fucked up. Your parents aren't going to be there. They're just going to leave you home by yourself. Like, if you were under 18, that'd be negligent parenting, but you're an adult. So the day after Christmas, I drove over to Tampa to see her. And mind you, I've been in love with her roommate for like a year. So I don't know anything that's happening. We go get some food and everything, and then we go back to her parents' house. No one's there. It's just her. So she was telling the truth, which really made me wonder. I'm like, damn, they really left you. And And so she was like, yeah, you want to watch a movie? I'm like, yeah, let's do this. We watched Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I remember that. Like, watch the movie. Let me tell you how oblivious I was. At one point, I'm sitting on the couch. She's about to start the movie. She's like, hey, you mind if I go change real quick? I'm like, no, it's cool. It's your house. Do what you want to, you know? She came back with nothing but a long T-shirt and then lay it on the couch in my lap. And I was just like, you gonna hit play or what? We gonna, you know. I know I've seen this movie like 15 times, but, you know, Ricardo Montalban, he's the best fucking Star Trek villain ever. So I'm sitting in Tampa. We watched this whole movie, right? She's laying in my lap. And this is the first time, 19, I'm just like, is she? Nah. We were just watching a movie. We watch it. So then a storm. If you ever live in Florida, there's always thunderstorms all the time. So there's like a really bad storm going on after the movie's done. And she's like, well, man, it's really raining out there. You shouldn't drive all the way back to Orlando in this. And my dumb ass, I'm like, yeah, you're right. And she's like, well, you know, you can spend the night here. I say, you know what, thank you. That, you know, yeah, I'll chill out here, you know. This couch looks comfortable. So she said, oh, yeah, you can sleep on the couch. Or she said, or you can sleep in my room. And I thought, damn, you know, that's so hospitable of you that you would let me sleep. You know what? God, you know, I was like, wow, it'd be rude if I said no, right? So I said, I'll take your room since you're offering it. Thinking, I actually thought this. Oh, I would sleep in her room. She's going to sleep on the couch. So she's like, oh, yeah. She's like, yeah, I'm going to show you. It's just right down here, down the hallway, right? And like if the gender roles were reversed, you know, this would be like really like a creepy frat guy. Like, oh, yeah, why don't you come? You want a drink? Why don't you have one more drink? You know, you feeling a little sleepy? You want to come in here? You know? It's really strange. So my dumb ass was just like, I walked in. So I walked in a room, and she had the fucking Say Anything movie poster, right? She had a bunch of movie posters, and she had the one with fucking Lloyd Dobler holding up, you know, the fucking boombox. And I'm looking at it. She had a bunch of, like, you know, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And I'm looking at the posters, and I'm just like, oh, wow, this really... And I'm like, huh. And then I hear the door close behind me. And so then I turn around, and now that long T-shirt she had on is gone, right? She's just standing there in her drawers. And I look, and I'm like... So now I'm like, okay, I think this is really happening. I've never had sex before, okay? I don't know what I'm doing. Instantly realize I am over my head. What am I supposed to do? You know, like my dad, you know how like generations change? Like if you have a real cool dad and then like you're a real nerdy kid, like there's that real, like I'm like, what my dad would have done some real cool shit, but I'm not like him. You know, I watch Deep Space Nine and... So then I started I started having my first anxiety attack. And this is when I didn't know what an anxiety attack was. I just started having shortness of breath. I started sweating, and I was like, I think I'm going to pass out. But I'm standing in front of a naked girl, and I'm like, I can't let her know that I'm about to pass out, so I got to figure out a way to be cool, but I can't do this while I'm looking at her naked, because that's kind of what's, you know, causing the anxiety attack. So I turned back around and looked at her movie posters. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm a big fan of John Hughes. I really like his stuff. So she's standing there naked behind me, and she's like, so, you want to get in the bed? And I said, yeah, sure. And I kicked off my shoes, still had fully clothed jeans on, walked over to the bed, lifted up the comforter, and got under it, fully clothed. Laid there, panicking, people, panicking, because I don't know what to do. okay, you're 19, you've got visions of like, yeah, someday when I have sex, man, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. But when you're faced with it, you know what I mean? You know, like people who open carry guns, they think they're Jason Bourne. They're like, yeah, like the terrorists come in, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do a barrel roll and shoot that. And then as soon as like a car backfires, they're like, oh shit! And they drop their stuff, you know. I had no training. I didn't know. So now I'm faced with this situation and I'm panicking. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to pass out. At least I can pass out laying down, right? Because I can't just crumple to the floor. So I get into bed with all my clothes on, right? Don't know what to do. This is like everything I want to happen, but I'm just not prepared. So she comes and gets in the bed next to me. And now I'm like, oh, shit. I didn't know she was going to do that. So I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So I pretended to fall asleep. And let me put this clear. Like, I was not a trained actor. I was not method. I pretended to fall asleep the same way a 12-year-old is pretending to fall asleep on Christmas Eve so he can catch his parents putting the toys underneath the tree. Like, I was audibly doing the sweating. Yeah. So after a few minutes, I turned my back to her too. And a few times, like I heard her, like she kind of looked at me and she went, and I heard her like lay down. And then like 10 minutes later, she like got up again and looked at me. And she was, and then she turned out the light. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I laid there for 8 hours, wide fucking awake, right? With my jeans on, just like, and you guys, you know how long the night is? Like, when you're fully clothed in Florida, under a comforter, laying next to a naked girl, pretending to be asleep, you remember every minute, like, through the whole night. Next morning, got up, had a real awkward breakfast. There were like blueberry Eggos and just like a lot of like silent tension. And then I drove home. And I told my dad this story, and I've never seen my father more disappointed in me in his life. Like I'm 44 now, and I was 19. We just now got good. You know what I mean? Like he was just like he couldn't fathom it. So for years after that, I was just like I just wanted to admit, like, no, I was nervous. I was a virgin. I didn't want to tell you. It was embarrassing. Give me another shot. Give me one more chance. That was what was going on in my internal monologue. She never talked to me again. And she shouldn't. She shouldn't. If you put your best moves on somebody and they're laying there fully clothed, no, you shouldn't talk to them anymore. So she was older than me. She graduated. Years went by. I finally did lose my virginity at 22 to this 18-year-old freshman. And then I just cut a swath through the university. I was just like, I got to make up for lost time. I got to do all this shit people are talking about. So it was like a montage, but like inside my head, it was Peter Gabriel playing the whole time. Cause I was just like, imagine Rocky, doing the whole thing in Rocky 3 with Drago. But in the background, it's like the dude from Talking Heads going, in your eyes. But it's sexual. So years later, so I graduated, living in South Florida, living down in Miami. I got a job up here in Atlanta. I'm packing all my stuff. I'm moving up to Atlanta. I'm going to stop in Orlando to see my mom. And I told my friend Dave, who lives in Orlando, I said, hey, man, I'm coming through. I'm going to be there for like a day on my way to Atlanta. And he said, oh, for real? Dude, listen, I live in Orlando now. Remember that girl Colleen used to be in love in college? He's like, yeah, I'm dating her now. And guess who her roommate is? Remember Jennifer from college? They're still roommates. They're living in Orlando. He's like, man, come through. We're all going to go out. I said, okay. It's been a while since that awkward time. So I'm coming through Orlando. I see them. Hey, how we doing? We all go out drinking. When I get drunk, I lose my filter. Everything comes. If I'm thinking it, it's coming out of my mouth. So at one point, after I don't know how many tequila shots in Ybor City, I turned to Jennifer and I said, you got to give me another shot. And I remember, and she said, okay. And we went and we left like Dave and Colleen. We're like, oh man, you guys go. We're going to catch up with you guys in a minute. And we went back to their house, right? Guys, it was fantastic. It was, like when from when you were a virgin, now you've had some experience, and now you want to come back to the first person and be like, listen, I learned some shit now. Like, it's, listen, I got my cardio up. I can, let's do this, So I got my second chance. And I remember it being really awesome and nasty and just everything that a 19-year-old wants it to be. And then the next thing, then I don't remember anything after that. And I woke up the next morning in my mom's house. And I remember we had talked about having brunch before I drove up to Atlanta. So I packed up all my stuff, told my mom, I said, yeah, I'm supposed to have some brunch with some friends. It's the last thing I remember we talked about. And I drove back over to their house. Things were real awkward. Like, I knocked on the door. My boy Dave answered, and he was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, what, man? We were supposed to eat brunch. What's going on? And he did that move where he when you don't want to let somebody in the house and you come out and close the door behind you. And he's like, you don't remember anything that happened last night? And I was like, no, man, I don't know, man. We were drinking, and then I, came back, and I woke up at home. I thought we were supposed to have brunch. He's like, dude, all right, first of all, you and Jennifer disappeared. We came back to the house, and y'all were acting real weird, and your shirt was on inside out. And, and then Jennifer's boyfriend came over. Oh, no, it gets better. He's like, you don't remember any of this? I was like, no. He's like, Jennifer's boyfriend came over. It was a cat you went to high school with. Y'all were both like, what's up, man? How you been? I haven't seen you in forever. Catching up, all such and such. And then he said, everybody was sitting in the living room. I stepped out to have a cigarette. You came outside with me, and you had this grin on your face, and you said, hey, man, I got to tell you something. And and my friend Dave said, yeah, I know, man. And I was like, what? What do you know? He's like, listen, Jennifer told us all about it back in college, how you had a crush on her, and you asked her out. She said no, and then it was weird for you ever since after that. And I got mad, and I was like, what? That's what she said happened? Do you know? And I started going off. I was like, do you know we just did the nastiest fucking shit before y'all got here? We were just necking and fucking, and I went in graphic detail. And I have a very loud voice, like my voice projects. So I was going off, and then we went back inside, and they had all heard everything I said, even the dude I went to high school with. And then he was upset with her. It was ugly. And then apparently I was just like, well, my work is done here. And I left. And drove drunk back to my mother's house, which is very irresponsible of me. And now, like, after all of that, like, apparently her boyfriend was like, they had it out, and, you know, because she basically cheated on him with this dude. And we just had this heartfelt reunion because we were boys in high school, but we hadn't seen each other since graduation. He had a twin brother. It was crazy. So that relationship was over. So, and it was my fault. So after all that, just imagine a night of awkwardness of, like, your roommate cheated on her boyfriend, the dude she cheated with is there, told everybody drunkenly, and then left, and then that aftermath, and then now, here it is, 11 o'clock, and he's like, hey, we doing brunch? So, I didn't remember any of this. So he told me all this, and, like, my only response was, so no brunch? And he was like, no, man, no brunch. So I got in my car, I was like, well, man, hey, it's been great seeing y'all again. I headed on up to Atlanta. So my second chance was basically like every kid's dream of you come back, you get your do-over, and then when you leave, it's like the explosion in the background as you're slowly walking away. You burned it down. And that's my story. All right, that's it. My name is Cris Gray. Thanks so much.
I like the idea of this piece because he's talking about second chances and messing up the second chance.
Yeah.
Because I've done that before in my life. I don't even know if I should tell this story. I always end up in this situation.
Yes,
like,
you do.
I'm like, oh man, I think of this, and I'm like, that would be great for this, but do I want to get personal? Who gives a crap?
Yeah.
I went to prom with this girl when I was like 19.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up dating her when I was like 30.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it was super weird. It was weird, and it was kind of like the second chance. I don't necessarily think that either one of us were trying to have a second chance. You know, we just reconnected, but
yeah,
it kind of like connects in my mind in terms of that story. You know, obviously it didn't work out.
Yeah, obviously you hear a second chance, you're going to come back to that.
Yeah, it was a funny thing in my mind to think like, man, 11 years later, maybe I was 31, so I mean, it might have been 12 years later, but that was just a really interesting second chance with another person, you know?
Yeah.
Do you have any second chances in your life?
No.
No love life second. I mean, you've been married for a decade, so.
Yeah, it was enough that I don't even have to get right the exact year.
See, that's awesome. That's the glory of being married. You know, a lot of people will talk shit about, especially people that are single, will talk shit about being married. You're like, I'm free. But then you don't have to think about stuff like that. You know, you're like, I've never had any second chances. I'm married. It's great. It's awesome. I'm good to go.
Well, I think a lot of people don't bring up the fact of when you've been in a committed relationship for a while, you kind of are able to be in like, oh, I'm too busy moving.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, okay, I've got this going. Okay, me and my partner are together on this. Let's just keep moving. Let's keep building the things we're doing. Let's keep creating the things we're doing. So it's just like nonstop movement. And when everyone's like, oh, how long has it been? I don't know.
Yeah. It's long enough.
13 years, I believe. I'm probably wrong on that.
Married or together?
Because we didn't have like a traditional marriage, we just high-fived a judge
in
downtown Decatur. Like actually at the courthouse, not just like a random judge hanging out,
walking down the street. Yeah.
You know, we always it's the time that we've been together.
Yeah, definitely.
Your relationships is your rules. So who gives a fuck what everyone wants to put on it?
Well, I definitely respect that. So anyway, great piece by Cris Gray about second chances.
Yeah. And we'll actually have a lot more coming up next year of also exclusive content.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we actually just signed our first person to do exclusive content. And if you're not... Actually, I'm going to let Matt tell you what the hell exclusive content is first.
I love how you say signed. Like, we're like, yeah, we had a meeting. We brought in their attorneys, and we just let them know, like, yeah, we're going to put a recording of you reading on the site, and you're going to make no money, and we're going to make no money.
It just sounds more official. You know, we're like signing people to the Lit Bruised exclusive roster of audio recordings.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's my thing. And we spoke about this a little bit when we were at that conference at GSU. And coming from a publishing background, when we started the podcast, I realized this is just publishing. It is just publishing within a different medium. So why don't we continue with that? And that's kind of what the exclusive act as. Rather than publishing actual books, we're going to be publishing just full recordings of people reading. And we're going to be hyping up a lot of those during the off season. And there will be just exclusive content only on Lit and Bruised. And I mean, who knows where it will go with that? But it's going to be awesome nonetheless, and get to do some nice production on some of these. So we're planning to do stuff that's just a little more than just someone reading. It's going to be a very unique type of way of capturing what's going on in the Atlanta Lit community. And do you want to go into our first signee?
The first signee, the first one on our label here. It's Jason Staniland from the Halloween episode, and his...
continuing with something very fucking creepy.
Yeah, it's called "I Am Your God," and I'm not going to get into that though. But but we're looking to put that out in December.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be going live in December. But it's free, and you'll be able to check it out. Listen, it's just an audio recording of a piece that's been produced, and we'll have like a breakdown on it. So you'll go to it, and it'll have its own little page, and you can find out more about it. But that's our goal for in 2018 is pushing out more exclusive pieces and just really allowing a writer to come in and read one of their pieces and give it some good quality production value.
Yeah. And with those, it's kind of interesting to look back on this year because we've done a lot. I mean, for myself, a lot of doing this podcast has been getting back involved in the community because I was on a hiatus for a while and really kind of just jumping back into a full love of the art and the creative community here within Atlanta. And I know you've had your own adventures during this time. You went to go England you had a book published in Europe.
Yeah, last in September, my Blackout poetry book, Hidden Messages of Hope, was re-released by a British poetry press called Eyewear Publishing. And yeah, we put that out September 10th. In London. That was really cool. So, yeah.
Yeah. What was it like to read in London?
That was interesting because I was reading with poets, and I'm not a poet, but I make Blackout poetry, which lumps me in with poets, which I don't really mind from a publishing perspective at all. But then when you're asked to come, fly to Europe, go to London, go to England, and then read in front of about 60, 70 people at a poetry release. That was interesting. But I read prose. I wrote a piece for it and read it, and they seemingly enjoyed it. And I was about 2 to 3 drinks in on that, so I could just power through it. But it was fun, and they were really sweet. I think there's this stigma that the British are very cold and unemotional. I feel like I get that. And I feel like they almost
It's an old country. They've been through some shit.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done some horrible things too. But yeah.
But man, I tell you what, those people are so sweet. British, I don't know. I have a special love for England, and I love British people. They're so kind. They're so polite. I had such a great time over there. I didn't meet a stranger while I was there. Just everybody was so kind to me. My only regret was that I was only there for 6 days. So yeah, but it was super cool. And
you said you read with some poets, and there were some really interesting poets that you read with as well. That were like, I remember you coming back and explaining. It's just like, whoa, that's some rad shit going on.
Well, what was cool about it is the book release. I was a part of a book release event that Eyewear Publishing was doing. So I think there was 4 to 5 books that came out that day. And so there were 6 readers, maybe 7 readers total, and most of us had books coming out. But there was, a lot of a couple slam poets that were just mind-blowing. I would love to have an Eyewear Publishing podcast. That would be super cool. They are going to be at AWP in Florida in March. I just got an email about that.
Oh, wow. AWP is going to be in Florida this year.
I think so. I think it's in Jacksonville or Tallahassee. I have an email. I'll have to check it out, but I was invited to go down there with the Eyewear. So that'd be something you look into, man. It'd be pretty sweet to do a podcast with them with Todd Swift, Dr. Todd Swift. He's like this king of the poets. You can look him up on Wikipedia. But yeah, they were kind enough to reach out to me beginning of this year, and that's how all this came to pass. So
yeah.
I
mean, it's been fun to kind of see the progress of the Blackout Poetry book, because put it out through Deer Bear Wolf first, and then
and you put that out. We worked on that together.
Seeing it start out is just like, okay, I want to put these new Blackouts with these old Blackouts, and then putting together the essays that went through it and trying to put a whole vision with it, and then now that vision is something that's now being sold overseas as well.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to start something at your kitchen table, 7 years prior, and then to see it grow into something. And it's very humbling to see, because I never would have done much with it if people hadn't really responded. I mean, I probably would have still made them because I enjoyed it. But yeah, it's cool to see it grow and to see where we started with this book in 2016, because we worked on it for about 6 months as well. Mm-hmm. And then that book was then re-released, in September. So it's cool to look at the progression of that and think, my God, what a weird thing to have be successful.
But that's what shows the strength of the creative process. Just keep going at it, and it will connect. The thing you do on your kitchen table just to help pass time and to keep your mind active can connect with people in ways that you don't anticipate. Way better than coming up with a huge plan ever will.
It starts small and do one thing well, and I think that's for all the creative projects that I work on. I think that's how I approach it, and after working on a lot of projects with you, I feel like you approach it the same way. Even with this podcast, it was just one episode at a time and perfect the episode. Get the episode where it sounds good, edit John down so he's not rambling as much, that kind of thing. And that's the cool thing about it. And even what's fun about doing Lit and Bruised is, here we are on the 15th episode, and I feel like we got it down all right. So
definitely feels comfortable. I don't feel very panicky before we record.
Yeah.
Which is very nice.
So if you're listening to this and you're wanting to start something, we'll use this as a plug to encourage you to do it, because it's like Matt says, it's all about the process. It's what he's talking about, is sitting down and just not giving up and just doing it day in and day out until you get to a point where it's all of a sudden you're not panicky and it's just a part of your daily life. Being creative becomes a habit. And that's the cool thing about it. And that's what I love about these projects. They're just fun, and you can just watch them grow and give your life some purpose.
Yeah, and just keep on moving, because we're all dying eventually.
Yeah, we are. It's that Bob Dylan line, "He who is not being born is busy dying." That was stuck with me.
What song is that from?
Oh, it's from the Freewheelin' album.
Okay.
I'll have to look. I'll look it up. It's pretty cool. It's a cool song, but that line always stuck with me. I was just like, it ain't me. Oh, what is that song? It's All Right, Ma? Is that the song?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's from that era.
Yeah.
It's from within that.
Now I gotta look it up. I'm gonna waste time on the podcast.
I mean, I take it a different way, and the thing that pops in my head in that sentiment is 2 Chainz line, which I think I've tried to plug a couple times in a couple episodes this season, of hard work beats talent.
Oh, definitely.
So why not sleep when you die?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I that's hands down. I was having a conversation about that, about experience usually beats out only knowledge. Because it's like you can be knowledgeable, but if you're not putting it to work, it's like the same thing. But
what's the point?
It's on bringing it all back home.
Okay.
It's All Right, Ma. I'm only bleeding. Yeah. Song's super good. Yeah.
Big uplifter.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. It's good, though. And what is next on the docket? What else are we talking about today?
Well, I was thinking also, it's like I look back on this season, I look back on all the guests we had, and a lot of guests we didn't think we would get in our first season as well. And I remember when we first started, one of our goals was, all right, we are not going to bring up politics in any way. We are going to avoid that. And first episode out of the gate, Topher Payne, 3/4 of that episode is about dealing with he who shall not be named.
I think we talked about politics a lot. Talking about politics and religion. I think we hit all the taboo areas.
Yeah.
Because why the hell not, man?
I mean, it all bleeds into the creation of art and how we express ourselves, how we connect. So to like try and not reflect on it at points is kind of a insult to the creative process in my mind.
Definitely. I mean, that would just be a really boring podcast because this is about writers and creatives being able to come on here and just talk and allow the audience to get to know them and find out about their work and who they are as a creative. Which reminds me, Matt. Did you have a favorite episode? I'm going to throw that back in your face.
Okay, good. Yeah,
that's a hard question. I didn't want to answer it because I don't think I can answer it. And then I was like, should I ask him? But I'm going to.
I'm going to say my favorite episode is the Halloween one, simply because when we were trying to come up with how episodes would go, we were really wanting to capture that feeling of what it's like after a reading, when everyone goes to someone's house and there's a bonfire or bunch of people go over to manuals and everyone's just having great conversations, getting really intoxicated in whatever their choice is. And then next thing you know, somebody's jumping on a table and reading. And so it's like the no holds barred version of the reading that just happened 2 hours earlier. And I really wanted to capture that feeling, that excitement, that fun of just like, and also people being able to bear like what goes into their work and not be afraid to let their true sides and their true struggles show. And that episode to me kind of captured that. It had that rowdiness and that honesty through the whole thing while talking about ghost stories.
Definitely, I agree. I love that episode. I mean, it is awesome. One thing that I love about it is the production value, but it is cool to look at that episode and understand that we nailed what we were going for. Yeah. That's the cool thing. It had nothing really to do with the guests per se, because in my mind I didn't want to say anything about, oh, I loved the Topher Payne episode, and then everybody else is like, oh, thanks, John. Because I enjoyed all the conversations. But from a production and a vision standpoint, the Halloween episode really nailed what we were going for. So that it is definitely cool. I really, for some reason, what's staying out in my mind is the Carrie Lorig episode. Mm-hmm. That was really interesting, especially with even her and Teresa Davis watching two poets read while sitting down or deliver their pieces while sitting down, since Teresa hasn't memorized, and watching them be so physical while delivering, but while sitting.
Yeah,
that was really interesting.
I mean, as Teresa said, like, you memorize into your body.
Yeah,
and it was like even while sitting, the body has to do these movements, has to go with the movement of the words to remember what's coming up next. Yeah. And after that,
I love the physicality of their deliveries. Mm-hmm. You know, they both have different kind of writers and different kind of deliveries, but I really enjoyed that because that's not like me at all.
Yeah.
It's the complete opposite of how I write and how I deliver a piece, and I really enjoyed learning about that and being able to break that down with them. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then it's been very interesting to, say interesting a whole lot. Maybe that will be put on the list for, at least for myself, for season 2.
So Lit Bruised is so interesting.
We've had in our head probably since halfway through the season of everything we're going to do with season 2. We mentioned the exclusives earlier, updating the archive. There's also going to be Lit Bruised readings where that is going to happen as well.
Hell yeah. You know, it was funny when you were talking about the Halloween episode a second ago. I was actually thinking about a fun reading format that I haven't seen done before. It just popped into my head.
All right.
And I'm not going to share it on here because I want to see if we can do it. Because it would be kind of like surprising, you know? Just like, oh shit, this is weird.
Nice, a creative dare. I'm into it.
Yeah, man. Let's like try to keep pushing the limit on how weird we can get with our readings. But yeah, so I mean, in 2018, definitely, Matt and I have been talking about that for a while. I'm excited about it. We have no plans set for any reading yet in 2018.
No.
But we're definitely going to be working on that in the off season, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. So be looking out for those. I mean, I'm thinking January, February for one of those.
Oh, easily.
Probably. Well, we've got Transgression the first 2 weeks of February, so maybe late February.
Yeah. Give you a little bit of a sanity break because all the work that goes into Transgression.
Yeah, we'll just say first quarter.
Yeah,
first quarter.
First quarter.
Why not? You know, speaking of what we're doing in 2018 because we're closing up shop here right before Thanksgiving. But as the next 6 weeks roll through and there is no more Lit and Bruised episodes for the rest of the year, you definitely want to check out the website because we're going to have our archive section with past recordings. We're going to be bumping that up a lot, which we've already mentioned. We're going to have the exclusives, and we're also going to have the event calendar, which we'll be updating. So a lot of great things just coming up in the next few months. And so we've just really focused hard on having a great event calendar. Matt's done a wonderful job. He stays on that more than I do, so thank you, Matt.
I'm just cutting and pasting from Facebook.
Yeah, we're gonna be posting more as well on our social feed, just on Facebook. Just pushing more things out there so that they don't just live on the website, but we're just also helping promote those events as well. So
exactly. I mean, that's one of the so many things brought us to wanting to create Lit and Bruised because there were holes within the Atlanta lit community that we saw needed filled, and we were tired of them not being filled. Having a solid event calendar that people can go to when someone comes up and says, "Hey, is there any Atlanta lit scenes coming up?" Yeah, go to this website. Here it is. So, and we're always trying to find more stuff because it's been really fun to learn so much more of what's going on in the community. I mean,
yeah, it's fun. I've looked at it a few times. I'm like, what's going on this week? And oh shit, I should probably check my own event calendar.
My calendar, my own personal calendar is now getting full because of all these things.
Yeah, it's amazing, and we're really trying to diversify what we have on there. So if you're out there and your events are not showing up on the Lit and Bruised calendar for literary events in Atlanta, email us. Let us know. We want to make this thing very focused on the community. And so if you're not on there, we welcome you to let us know about what you have going on, whether it's a new reading series or just a one-off event. Keep us posted on it.
A reading group or a writing group that you have going on. That's I always have people come up to me and ask, "Oh, is there any writing groups that I can join?"
Yeah, totally.
They're out there, but of course groups tend to be very small, so it's kind of very much by word of mouth. So if anyone is looking for more people to get in their group, shoot us an email, and we'll be sure to shoot out, see if anybody's interested.
Definitely, we could probably put those at the top. Some sort of like workshop thing. We could create even a different section for that, for all the different workshops for.
Have you ever been in a writing workshop?
I went to Kill Your Darlings once. I've always written alone.
Yeah.
I've just always, I don't, and I'm not saying it's any better or any worse. Personally, I just get rolling, and it is good for feedback. I mean, I will ask for feedback from different people, so I feel like I have people that I can send things to. But
the writing process is not a collaborative thing.
Not for me, it hasn't ever been. If I'm writing, I've written collaborative pieces with people before, and that's cool. But if I'm writing my own thing, I kind of want to pick and choose who I ask feedback. You've edited my work before.
Yes.
So I almost feel like I want you to know where I'm coming from. And being in a group setting didn't always really work for me. I thought it was really cool, though.
Yeah.
I had no problem with it. I thought it was rad. And I know a lot of people who love it, and they benefit from it. And even outside of just like having people comment on your work, it's just a cool community thing. Meeting new people, meeting new writers. Because if you're out there writing and you don't know anybody, that's lonely. I was very lonely for a long time. I didn't really know many writers for a very long time. It wasn't until Purge ATL, working on that back in 2010, that I actually knew more than like you out there writing, and that was huge for me. I met like 10 writers in like a week.
Yeah.
It, like blew my mind.
Yeah. I'm now thinking, automatically comes to mind. I think about that time period. I'm like, okay, Melissa Martinez, meeting her. And then that put in with Kill Your Darlings workshop.
Yeah.
And then like that, I remember I met, Corey Oliver through that, and just like people just meeting more and more writers. But yeah, I totally get you on the solitude. For me, writing has been kind of this is cheaper than therapy.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like I don't want to bring anyone into my demon hate space and sorting through things. But yeah, the writing gets lonely after a while. But then that's also why I think we are not a good social bunch. Most of us, not the best at social.
Yeah.
Being social with people. I can definitely say for male writers, that has definitely been my assessment over the years.
I feel like I don't fit in. I've never really felt like I fit in a lot of places. I've accepted that and I feel good about it. It's totally fine because it's really just how you choose to go. But I remember like joining the lit community. I was like, I don't feel like I'm like these guys because a lot more. Not every writer's an extra or an introvert, but a lot were, and I'm kind of insane. So, but with that being,
everybody's a little insane.
Exactly. But even with that being said, it's like I always felt so welcome into the lit community in Atlanta. I always, man, I don't feel like anybody was ever like rude to me or anything. It was just like opportunities and check this out. You want to come over here? And I mean, I don't know. Just everybody.
I thought for a while some people were rude to me, but then I realized I was just being a dick.
I don't think I've ever been a dick in the lit community. I've tried my best not to be.
And that's all we can hope for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but I also think that you're not as much of a dick as you think you are.
I was a huge asshole for a very long time.
Yeah, when I met you, you were. But hey, look at this. So many years later, now we have a podcast together.
Yeah,
so
we grow up, we move on.
Yeah.
And we should get into our final piece that we're going to play on this episode.
I think this is a good time to call it.
The last piece we're going to play in this episode is a poem, Triumph, by poet Molly Brodak. Molly is a fantastic writer and also a totally kick-ass baker who you can actually see on the Great American Baking Show starting December 7th. She went out to England. And
I hope she won. That'd be so badass.
I hope so. I mean, I haven't asked her because I know how those weird contracts.
Yeah, they're not allowed to say until like the final episode airs. Like, I don't even want to watch it. I just want to like find out in like 3 months that she's won or whenever the final episode is. That stuff's nerve-wracking, especially if you know the person. Jesus.
Yeah, I know. We need to definitely have Molly on next season. I mean, last year she wrote her memoirs, Bandit. Which was Molly does amazing poetry, as you'll hear, and then she came out with a nonfiction book called Bandit about growing up with her father being a very well-known bank robber and her family not even knowing he was a well-known bank robber until he was caught by the FBI.
That was amazing. I got to enjoy seeing her read at MailChimp for what Get Lit, which you and Corey Oliver run. That was amazing. Got a copy of the book. She's wonderful, and it's very versatile. Obviously, to be able to write a freaking memoir and then turn around and write all the poetry and then go on a baking show. It's like, Jesus, Molly.
Yeah.
You're kind of incredible. So,
but yeah, enjoy this piece, Triumph by Molly Brodak. Recorded it in her backyard where she has a chicken coop. Unfortunately, the chickens were not making that much noise, but there's a nice earthy tone of cars you can hear coming through the area. But I don't know, it fits for the piece. I like those little field recordings like that.
Hit it.
Triumph. The fire itself has no scent. A little fire in the street is no particular person's baby. The walk home now is always amid crashes and incidents. The rain is intermittent. It is not the fire itself you smell in your wool coat. The fire itself is no body, no site for war. It is not the fire itself you smell in your wool coat. The gall, the dread, I can't see it in the street, in the waiting lines, in the stairwell of my complex. Only the rat's head is left in the trap. Each lamp spreads a skirt of light, none touch. Some have no lamp. A pest, a homeless shred of cells and bones, begs and moves his candle to the darkest sleepers, singing so low, almost not, but singing. And up here, I cannot blink the fire out of my eyes. I mean, not the glittering fire itself. It's not the fire itself, not the fire, but it's burned things. It's the things it's burning you smell. And I can't hear his song, but I see his candle moving through the dark.
Short and sweet. I like that piece.
Yeah.
I like was it the blinking the fire out of her eyes? Is that what she said?
I think so.
Yeah. That's cool. All right, y'all. Season 1 is done. This is it.
Yeah.
Matt, we did it.
We did it.
Congratulations to you.
And congratulations to you.
Thank you. Yeah, we've and if you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening to Lit Bruised. We really appreciate you. And thanks for growing with us. I'm sure you've probably, if you've listened from episode 1 till now, you've probably noticed a lot of changes. So thank you for being patient. One thing that we wanted to throw out there was leave us a review. We're on a lot of different platforms now. We're in iTunes. We're on
Google Play,
Spreaker.
Yes.
What else we got?
YouTube and SoundCloud as well.
Yeah, so if you're on, I think iTunes is the main one. Is that kind of the main one?
Yeah, that's the one that definitely you get the most volume out of good reviews.
Leave us a review, even if you think we suck. Just like John Carroll talks too much.
On the SoundCloud one, just be like, this is a really weird mixtape.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, thank you all so much for listening to Lit Bruised Season 1, and we will be back in January with Season 2. So look out for us, and then look out for us on Facebook and on the website for all the updates that are going to be happening in our off season.
Yeah, and if you miss our voices during that time, shoot us an email. We'll just send you blathering things from our car.
I can do a little voice memos.
Yeah.
I can turn on my radio voice. I don't think I'm going to miss that. I don't think anyone's going to miss that. But anyway, see you next year.